Okay, here we go. Our triangular graduated technique. I'll come out a center section at the top. And then starting on the right side, I come out a diagonal section. Here I'll over direct the hair strongly forward and I cut in my graduated guideline. Now from here, the way I'll be working the sides is technically I'm cutting in everything to an asymmetric line. So actually if you look at it from like, if you're an angel and you're flying in the room and you're looking at it from a top-down perspective, I'm actually building up a line of a triangle here. So my elevation increases just slightly with each section. Comb the hair straight out to the same plane. And again, cutting your shape that goes from shorter to longer. I'm over directing the front area. Still cutting on that same plane. Consistent over direction and elevation. And notice how my shape naturally grows from shorter to longer. I take out the next section. Remember, with each progressive section, I'll increase my elevation slightly. And the reason I'm going with graduation is it'll prevent this length from flipping out too much. So the graduated shape will encourage this hair to bevel under. So you'll find that the length that we're cutting here, with all the short to longer lengths, the hair, once it falls, it'll have a natural tendency to flip. So using a graduated shape, it prevents that. It encourages the hair to tuck under. Now working through the sides, I'll over direct the hair forward and I'm connecting that graduated line that I created through the side and to the back area. Again, consistent elevation. Now as I work through the back, I'm over directing each section to the exact same point. So through the back, I'm actually building up my weight. So I have to make sure that each section is combed to 100% the exact elevation as the guideline. So my next long diagonal section, this section is quite large, so I'll break it into two smaller, more manageable sections. Again, over directing the hair to the exact same point. Make sure you comb the hair super clean from roots to your guideline. Now checking in the center portion of that section. Consistent elevation and over direction. And through the longest portions, I'm just dusting. I'm just cutting a tiny bit of hair. Okay, and again, over direction to the same spot, combing the hair to natural fall. Now through the opposite side, I comb out my graduated line. I cut in at the same elevation and the same graduated angle. So to ensure that the graduated angle is consistent, once you cut this new guideline, you have to go in and cross check between your fingers the very front of that line and the very back behind the ear. Okay, so the next section again is following the same guideline. I increase my over direction slightly. I'm standing directly in front of what I'm cutting. So I'm basically standing. I'll plant my feet between her nose and her shoulders. So when I'm standing in front of what I'm cutting, my body position will allow me to control my shape better because I now start to incorporate my natural tendency to over direct to my center of balance, my center chest. So that's why I'm standing in front of what I'm cutting. When I cut the opposite side, you can cut this on the inside or the outside of your fingers. It's up to you. So again, increasing our elevation, following our guideline, cutting in a shape that goes from shorter to longer. Making sure that your fingers, elbows, scissors, comb, shoulders all mimic the exact same shape that you're cutting, which will give you a lot more control. Okay, so now moving into the back, I take my guide again from that side area. I just line up my comb with that angle, so everything's lined up here, and I just cut that same line all the way through. Now, when I'm cutting this side, my level of difficulty increases because I have to cut at the exact same elevation as I did the original side. So always make sure that your guideline is super clear. When your guideline is super clean, crisp, and clear, that's your guideline telling you that your elevation is at the correct position. And then you can also check for balance, symmetry and balance between your fingers. And as I approach the left rear part of this haircut, I'm standing almost parallel to the shoulders. And again, every single section is over directed to the exact same point. So I'm building up length, I'm building up heaviness. And this heaviness, this weight will encourage the hair to tuck under. With the length that we're cutting, when the hair falls to natural fall, it'll have a tendency to follow the contours of the human body shape, like the neck, the shoulders. And the neck and the shoulders will often encourage the hair to flip out. So by selecting graduation, it'll allow the shape to tuck under. And I just removed my corner that existed at the center, so that lets me know that my shape is technically symmetrical. And always have your eyes and your body position at a level where you can see everything clearly. With longer hair, one of the challenges is the way you comb the hair. You have to understand, the further you pull the hair away from the scalp, the harder it is to control. So again, there's our back shape, blending in those corners. So now I'll jump into the blow dry. So for the blow dry, I'm just going in with a paddle brush. I'm going for a nice, soft, smooth effect. I'm not going for excessive root lift. I just want to get a nice, polished cuticle that's sealed shut. And after I leave for a while, I'll go back and I'll bevel in my shape. Again, not too much of an artificial shape going on here. The finish, as I blow out the hair, I prefer to shift my hips or my shoulders as opposed to using gigantic arm movements, because that way I exert much less energy, but I get the same effect. So that's going reverting back to the 80-20 rule. 20% of effort, 80% of results. Because blow drying, especially really thick hair, is exhausting, so you really need to manage your energy levels. Okay, so now that the hair is dry, we'll go back and I'll start texturizing and visually cross-checking my shape. And for our technique today, I'll go in and I'll texturize into the ends a bit more than I normally would, because that's the effect I want this time around. I want something that's a little bit more busted up, but still technically, my shape is still technically sufficient to hold its own and give me a lot of movement, but I want that extra texture, so I can go back in and cut that out. Since I chose to cut with graduation, one of my concerns, it may fall a bit hard and heavy, so just going back and texturizing the hair slightly more than I normally would. So as I texturize and I remove weight, I have some options. One option is I can increase the angle of my shear to remove more weight, or I can lessen the angle to remove less, or I can just go and hit that area with more texturizing strikes. So now as I move through the fringe area, I'm working what's already pre-existing, and I'm just cutting in a slightly asymmetrical fringe, because that'll work, which has a slight cowlick through the top, so that'll work really well with that cowlick. So I'm not cutting in a blunt line here, I'm just elevating the hair because I want that softness, and I just go in and I texturize it until I'm happy with the end result. And just softening out that fringe just a bit more because the right portion by the eyebrow felt a little bit heavy. Okay, there we go. Enjoy.